You don't need to know how you are going to get there, but you need to know where you want to go. High performance chiropractors have a clear picture of what they want to accomplish, and they constantly envision their ideal outcome. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Dr. Scott with my lovely assistant back in the studio with me.
Hi.
All right. Today we are giving away High Performance Chiropractor Secret number 5. Did you just shh, people? Which is focus on the ends rather than the means. We're going to get to that here in just a second. We do have a question of the day today, which is, do you have a solid routine in place during your time at home? So what do you got going on at home? How's your routine now that we're homeschooling right over there in the corner?
If I wake up in time, I go to the show. Then after that, I usually make breakfast for myself or get something. And then I go to school until like 12.
12. It's supposed to be till 2, but you get done early, don't you? Getting ahead on your schoolwork as always. So I don't know if you heard what I just heard, but apparently she's going to be on the show every day. Is that what you just said? That's part of your routine now?
If I can wake up.
If you can wake up. Fair enough. I'll deal with that. I see Casey, John, Athanasios all joining me. Thank you very much. So answer the question of the day for me. How is your routine going during your time at home? Even if you're at home, I know a few of you watching right now are still practicing, kind of normal, just maybe a little slower. But let me know how your home time, especially if you have kids and you're homeschooling. Because if I were to answer that question, I'd say mine's a little, I wouldn't say off. I'd say it's adaptable. I have to adapt a lot more now than I normally do with the kids at home because I am constantly getting picked at, which I enjoy. But it does affect my normal routine. But I've had to adapt, move my workouts around a little bit. Obviously, the show is good for the routine. They're not usually here by this time, but now Samantha's decided she's going to be down here with me, prepping. All right. John says mornings are going well, afternoons start to fall apart. You know, that's why we talk about having a morning routine first, right? If we get the stuff done that has to get done in the morning, then it's a little okay if the afternoons fall apart. And I was doing really, really well until last week when the kids did start school, because now I really kind of have to keep an eye on them and make sure that they're on their Zoom calls and doing those things. Before that, it was just kind of random. And my time was most important. But now at 9 o'clock, I kind of have to shift to them. So things fall apart a little earlier for me right now. Anyways, let's talk about this secret here. Let me move to this one. Wrong button. There we go. So again, high performance chiropractor secret number 5 is to focus on the ends rather than the means. And what I mean by that is that if you focus on everything that it's going to take for you to get from point A to point B to the success you want, you're going to get bogged down with questions about the methods, about how am I going to accomplish these things. Don't get hung up on that stuff. Don't get hung up on the how-to, and don't get in your own way. The high-performance chiropractors that I've met with have never let those things bother them. They might have a lot of naysayers around them. They're like, well, how are you going to do that, or how are you going to do that? But they don't even worry about it. They simply focus on their goal. They simply focus on the ideal outcome that they're looking for, and they don't get hung up on the details along the way. They make motions. Every one of you right now, if you look at what your goal is, you're prepared to make that move. You have the ability to do it. You have the potential to do it. All you need is the decision to go for it. I've mentioned a few times in previous shows that we hold ourselves back, right? We start worrying about what the outcome may be. We talked about that last week with you on the show, did we not? Yeah. There's no need to get everything organized. There's no need to get everything prepared up front. Just taking steps towards your goal does not involve eliminating all the risks. Okay, you can still take a step without worrying about those risks. We talked about suspend disbelief last week and just not believing anything, but still taking those steps. In this process of success and everything, I mean, what's the kitchen analogy? It's made in a messy kitchen. Success is made in a messy kitchen, something like that. If anybody knows that one, put it in the comments because I'm at a loss. She has no idea what I'm talking about. But you have to be willing in this process to deal with a little bit of ambiguity, a little bit of confusion. And it's okay in the process. You have to get comfortable with that, which cannot be uncomfortable. So you have to get uncomfortable. Don't worry about the middle. Worry about the end. Again, all the successful chiropractors that I've worked with have had a focus on that goal, that end result, as opposed to the steps in the middle. And those things tend to work themselves out. It's okay to have a plan, don't get me wrong, but just don't get caught up in the means. Don't get caught up in looking for that perfect plan to get there. Because I can tell you, a lot of the doctors that I've met with that have struggled, that have been in a struggling place for a year, 5 years, 10 years or more, thinking about a goal, but worrying about that perfect plan, it's because they hold themselves back, because they don't have the steps. They can't quite see it, and they haven't taken any motion because they feel like they need that plan first. And the plan is not the most important part of this process. And again, this is a guy who sells practice growth action plans for a living. That's how I make my living. At the same time, you don't need the perfect plan. I think one of the reasons I give my plans out is to get people in motion, not so that they have the perfect plan. That perfect plan that I write up for people and hand to them, and they're like, oh, I love this plan, and I can start getting in motion, is always adapting. It's never perfect, even though it might look like at the beginning. And it's okay to have that plan, but the perfect plan doesn't exist, I think is the point that I want to make, which is my next one, and I don't have it up there. There we go. So if you simply aim for a few steps between now and your goal, and you have certain areas where you want to reach in order to get there. It might be a bigger goal. It might be, we worked on goal setting in the launch prep program, and it might be, your 3-year goal. But if you have a 6-month step that you want to get to, and you start taking steps towards that goal, and you just get in motion, you're always going to have to adapt anyway. Like I said, every plan that I've put together for somebody is right for them at that moment. But as you start making steps, it changes a little bit. But if you start, you're going to be taking steps towards that goal. And as you move towards your goal, your goal magically moves towards you. Your goal magically feels even closer. You make faster progress as you're in motion. And again, you're always going to have to continue adapting as you go. There's no question about that. It's always been the way. Every successful doctor or person that I've seen, you're not in the screen, there we go, has had to adapt. If you simply have a plan, you stick to it no matter what, you're going to run into a lot of obstacles. And again, a big part of focusing on the ends rather than the means is not to see those obstacles, not to get hung up on what's in your way, but to think about where you want to end. You just take small steps. You keep envisioning your goal. You're going to be surprised where you end up after just a short period of time. If you're making motion, again, not only do you move towards your goal, but the goal ends up moving towards you. A few months of your focus and your energy on that target. And again, something I've always talked about when I'm on sites with people and we put together goals and focus and target, is the doctor and the staff always immediately feel like they're in motion. They feel like they now have something to move towards, whereas a lot of the doctors that I start working with are floating, as I say. They're just adrift. They're going, they answer the phone, they take care of patients, and people come to the door, and that's great. They do a good job of that, but they don't have a focus and a goal, and they can't envision it. The high-performance chiropractors have that goal. And again, that automatically draws them in that direction, and that's what we're looking for here. Why are you looking at me like that? I did mention with her jumping across the creek the other day, and we went to another creek yesterday, but you're not supposed to be concerned with what happens in the middle of a jump, right? You can't be worried about what's going to happen once you're up in the air. You need to focus on where you want to land. And as I worked with her in this scared space of wanting to jump over this creek, we just focused on the landing point. And if she put her energy there, there's another one with race cars, right? One of their first, I can't remember what book that's from. Maybe 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Because I remember it being very, very early in my life that learning about race cars, that if you're turning a corner and you look at the wall, you're hitting that wall. If that's where your attention goes, if you get nervous and you look at the wall, guaranteed you're going to hit it. But if you take your gaze down the road where you want to end up, even if you're in a bad situation, you end up down there as well. I found it interesting yesterday as we were on this little, what was it called, a spillway actually down in Iowa City. So it's a dam that rolls down, so there's many little rivers, and they wanted to get out on a rock that if you looked straight ahead, there's no way you can get to that rock. Absolutely no way. And if you just looked at that rock and tried to find a plan there, it was not going to happen. However, if you took your time and you realized that that's where you wanted to get, and you took one step, all of a sudden another step would be close enough that they could get to it. And they would get on rocks that were dry, and sooner or later they end up over on that the rock that they wanted to get to. beautiful analogy for focus on the ends rather than the means. I see Mick joining me as well. Mick, how's your routine going now that, or I don't know what's going on in Idaho. I haven't talked to you at all yet, which needs to change. But how are things in Idaho? Are you practicing, and how's your routine? I see you doing a lot more workouts on the Instagram. I see you posting those. So let me know how things are going there. So anyways, focus on ends rather than means. Make sure that you have a crystal clear vision. All high performance chiropractors do. If you don't, you need to spend some time. Maybe go back to my launch prep course and spend some time on your goal setting. When I get clients who just seem a little off, they seem like they're just not making motion, I usually have them go back and do those exercises. There's 3 exercises in the launch prep goal setting course just to get themselves clarity. And without fail, when I talk to them the next week, something good happens to them. They start moving towards their goal starts moving towards them. They feel that momentum, they start going in the right direction. So for you, find that end point, find your success, find exactly what that means to you. What's it mean to you? What could you take action on today to move towards a goal? We talk about this stuff like almost every morning, don't we?
Yeah.
We have a family meeting at 8:45 every morning these days before the kids start school. And our focus is always on the ends. What does it mean? What kind of steps can we take today to get towards that end goal? And everybody has their 2 or 3 different areas of their life that they want to improve. So what can you do today?
I'm planning to finish my book, like always, and then
I often have to coach them through this, as you can imagine.
And then probably just read a lot of my book.
They do like a lot of
I'm
reading.
almost done.
All right. Are we good?
Yeah.
Tomorrow, we're doing another motivation. We're eliminating energy robbers, which is actually a really good one too. I say that every day. Every episode I say that. Like, I'm not giving you any junk, right? Eliminating energy robbers, which again is a big focus of mine, is to get rid of that negative stuff so that we have room for the positive stuff. So make sure you stop by tomorrow. The Perfect Case Acceptance and Referral Mastery classes this week are excellent as well. So don't miss any episodes this week, especially if Sammer's going to be with me every week. Mix is pretty much same as normal, holding strong and still pretty busy, knock on wood. I expect nothing less from you, actually, Mick. And I just didn't know what the environment was like out there. Iowa is still pretty good as well, but I know some states are completely shut down. Other ones are starting to open back up. I wonder about this whole flatten the curve thing. I think we've flattened it here in Iowa, which everybody's excited about, but I think that means we're going to be longer because we haven't peaked yet. And some states, I think, are peaking now. So whatever that means, I have no idea. Anyways, I hope you all have a great Monday, great start to your week, and I will see you all tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Central Daylight Time.
See you.